This is us doing a wheel swap on our 2022 Gladiator, Jeep Gladiator that we bought from now Maxwell Dodge Jeep Chrysler here in Killeen. So I didn't want to put the audio from us working on the car because sometimes some things get said that may make for good comedy, but not necessarily good PG-13 video. So let's see what we got. We got this Jeep, I want to say maybe 4 months ago now. So what I'm also doing is showing her the challenges of changing wheels on a Jeep or truck with a high wheelbase, a high center of gravity. It's not really easy just to get a normal jack under a pinch wheel of a car and jack it up. You got to have certain jacks because everything won't reach. So you got to know which jacks to use in certain situations. So I got a bottle jack that I can use, but she bought me an electric jack that plugs into your cigarette lighter, into your 12 volt in your car. That works pretty well too. And you'll see I'm checking out where the jack points would be. I don't want to jack it from the control rods or the spindle or the 4-link or the control arms, or anything under that I might mess up. So I'm trying to find where a good jack point would be on the frame rail to be able to get it up high enough to be able to get the wheels off the ground. And the challenge with trucks and Jeeps that you have is you have a lot of wheel travel because of the way the suspension is set up. So that was my major concern. If I don't jack it up from, say, the lower control arm or the axle or the rear differential, will the wheel travel from the suspension allow me to get enough lift on it to be able to get the wheel off the ground? And you only need a ½ inch, maybe an inch of clearance to be able to get the wheel off and put the new wheel on. So it's kind of a trial and error you got to figure out with whatever vehicle, whatever truck, whatever Jeep you have. And I 100% do not like and don't want to use any of the jacks that come with the vehicles. I just hate the way they're made. I hate them. I hate where they're located. I hate how they work. I hate the mechanisms that you have to use for them. So that was one of the first things I wanted to get, was a jack that I can use for just about all my vehicles. So I plug up the jack, I lift it up, turn it up, so that way I can get maximum lift on it, because you can turn the jack pad up 4 or 5 inches before you even start elevating the jack toward the frame. So that's the setting you use for trucks and Jeeps. So now I'm just waiting until it gets a little closer, fit it to see what my clearance is, make sure my jack pad is on a flat surface. I don't want it to put it on anything that'll move. Once I find that, I get the jack snug up against the frame, and then I go up. And I always go up just to see if I can get it off the ground first. A lot of people like to break the torque on the lugs before they jack the car up. I like to see if the travel is going to allow me to get the wheel off the ground first before I break the torque on the lugs. because if you can't get the wheel off the ground and you already broke the torque on the lugs, now you have to put the jack back down, tighten the torque on the lugs back up again, and then, you know, reposition yourself. So this way I make sure I got clearance, see if I can get off the ground. Once I get off the ground, I just lower the jack a little bit to put the tire back on the ground for some resistance, and then I can break the torque on the lugs. So these wheels we got at it's almost like a swap meet down in San Antonio. They had stock wheels on their Jeep, which she thought was better than the stock wheels we had on the Jeep. So she asked them how much they were. They were a really good price, and she thought they looked better than the stock wheels she has. And you'll see the comparison here once we get everything together. The all black she kind of liked, but she doesn't like the fact that they look like spare tire wheels or hub caps, or, you know, just don't have any, I guess, any kind of detail to them to make them look like anything special. So and then also what I'm doing is I'm using the breaker bar, and then I was going to get a 1-inch ratchet, so that way as I go to break the torque on them, you know, she can ratchet it off as we move to, you know, different things to try to get stuff done faster. And I'm also introducing her to different power tools and stuff that she can familiarize herself with too. So that's the 1/2-inch drive ratchet. So what I'll do is I'll just break the torque, and they definitely over torqued those wheels when they put them on the last time she went. They did a front steering dampener replacement on her car, on her Jeep, and they decided to do a tire rotation and service on it. And when they put them on there, they put them on extra tight, so you can see as I'm breaking the torque, you can see the breaker bar kind of bending when I break the torque on it. It was so bad that we could see shavings on the threads on the lugs when we pulled the lugs off the wheels. And what I was saying was, I was worried that it was on so tight that when I broke the torque, I heard the lug sound like it spun inside the hub, and I was worried that the entire lug would come off. But I know it's really hard to do, but I was worried that it would shear off and that it would be coming off with the lug. So now that I broke the torque on all of them, I'm going back up, get it off the ground. They're not quite hand tight, so that's why I gave her the 1/2-inch ratchet with the impact, so she can get them off. So she likes to be involved working on her own stuff, and even my stuff too. She wants to be able to do things when I'm not there. So I want to make sure that she's familiar with every aspect of her vehicle, so that way she can do whatever she needs to do in case I'm not there to help her out. She knows what tool is what, how to use all the tools, jacks, what they're for, and then also if anybody else needs help, because she has a lot of females in her family, and a lot of them are too proud to ask. So they'll ask her instead of me, and she'll go out and she'll help them, show them what they need to do, and make sure they're good to go. She's helped friends change tires on the side of the road in the middle of the night, female cousins and stuff when they needed it. And I was just there to support. She knew how to do everything, and they were very impressed at the level of knowledge she has as a female nurse. that does mechanic stuff on the side when we do wheel swaps, brakes, exhaust, stuff like this. So she said the 1/2 inch ratchet was going a little bit too slow, so I went and got the battery power ratchet to see if that was charged up enough to help her go a little bit faster to get it done. So I'm kind of graduating tools to show her all the different tools that, you know, can be at the disposal, whichever ones people prefer. Some people like to do everything by hand, breaker bar, turn by turn. Some people like to do the 1/2 inch drive ratchet extension or whatever. And then I'm just showing her how the power ratchet works compared to the regular 1/2 inch drive ratchet. Now we're just inspecting the threads to make sure that nothing was messed up before we take the wheel off and then test fit the new one. And I know I should have jack stands under it, but my jack stands are under my race car right now because I don't want to mess the wheels up, the tires up on the race car, so they're occupied right now. But that is an electric hydraulic jack, so I trust it. And now you can see the difference in the aftermarket wheels, the Jeep Wrangler wheels versus the stock Jeep Gladiator wheels that she has on the front. I don't like to lift with my back, so what I do is I put the wheel between my legs and I use my shins to just lift it up level enough for me to be able to find the lugs and the hub and just guide it on, hold it in place. Here I'm going up just a little bit higher because these wheels, as you can see, have a little bit bigger diameter. Yeah, so we went from 17-inch rim wheel to 18-inch, but the diameter of the tire is just a little bit bigger. But with Jeep, she got so much wheelbase space, so much wheel well space, so much travel room that you can fit monstrous tires on those things without doing any kind of suspension modification. So I knew something subtle like this wouldn't be a big deal, wouldn't be a big change. The only thing is to make sure that the clearance in the front tires when you're turning left and right is good, and we did that, and you'll see her go for a test drive later on and check that out. And we always like to make sure that the lugs are hand tight, guided on with our hands before we use any power tools, because we don't want to cross thread anything or get it started and think we got it started and then you put power on it and then it's not right. So we always get everything started by hand before we put any power to it. So she got everything on by hand, and even though she's not torquing it, she's just snugging it down, she still does it in the star pattern. Every tightening motion we do is in the star pattern, just to make sure everything goes on the right way on the hub and you don't have any wobble with your tires and your lugs go all the way in and everything's tight, so you don't tighten one and loosen another. And she doesn't like a lot of help. She mainly wants guidance, but for the most part, as far as helping, if it's her car, her truck, she's definitely wants to do it herself. Show me how to do it, make sure I'm not doing anything wrong, and get out of my way, basically. So she's gonna let me torque, and what I'm doing now is I'm turning on my air compressor, because now I showed her how the ratchet works, the power ratchet works. Now I'm going to show her how the air ratchet works. so that way she can kind of get an idea on that too. She thinks that it looks so much better already compared to the plain black wheels. Let me know what y'all think. And she bought 5 wheels and tires together, package deal, already inflated, for $300. 5 wheels, complete wheels, a full complete set for $300. So we're thinking about getting the 5th wheel rack for the bed of her truck, so she can put the 5th wheel there, because lowering the spare on the Jeep Gladiator is a pain with that same jack system I told you I don't like. You got to connect the 3 rods together with the 4th one perpendicular and make sure it goes in the hole the right way, to make sure you turn the spare tire counterclockwise so that way it lowers it to the ground. You kind of got to guide it out while you're lowering it to unlock it to get it from under there, and then it's just a pain. So if you get the 5th wheel holder that goes in the bed, then you don't have to, you know, deal with all of that stuff to get a tire change with your spare tire. So now we're just making sure that she does like it, that it ain't something that she kind of wanted and then now we're going to take it off and put the other ones back on. So we just want to make sure that everything's good, if it's what she really wants. If she wanted to get the wheels she had powder coated, but they're kind of giving us a hard time finding a good powder coater. But for $300 for 5, it'd be good. So I'll put the jack on the down setting, so as you can see it's slowly going down back to ride height, so we can see how the aftermarket wheels look at ride height versus when it's jacked all the way up, to make sure all the clearances are good. So now the jack is off the frame, just about. Make sure it's tight again while it's on the ground, so that way I got a little resistance still going in clockwise pattern. And then after I get them all on and after she takes the test drive, then I'll torque them to what they're supposed to be torqued to. So that's the new wheels versus the front old stock wheels. It's only 1 inch difference in the actual rim size. So we did everything basically analog with the ratchet and the breaker bar and everything else. So on this one we're going to use the air ratchet now that the air compressor is building up some pressure. And then I'll show her the difference between the power ratchet and the air ratchet to see what she thinks is better, which one she would prefer using if she decided to use one. And these electric jacks, man, it's a whole lot less strenuous than the basic hydraulic jacks, where you pumping and pumping and pumping, and your extension on your jack pad might not be long enough, so you got to put a brick or a puck or extender or something on there. All you do with these is put it in the right spot, press up. It's got a flashlight on it. It's got emergency lights to let people know what you're doing. So the electric jack for vehicles like this, for us, it makes life a whole lot easier. And her being a safety conscious person she's checking the tread on it to make sure everything's good. Seeing if there's nails or rocks in it. And I think she found a nail in one, actually. So we were going to mark it, bring it to Discount Tire and see if they pull a nail out, will the air still hold, or do they need to plug it? And then we found another few plugs on it, but we're going to let the experts look at that. I know when I was a mechanic, if you got more than one plug too close to each other, I recommend getting a new wheel. So we're trying to decide on if we want to use that one on the vehicle and get it fixed, or just put that one in as a spare and use the other good ones. But you never want your spare to be your worst tire, because if you need the spare and it's your worst tire, when it does come time to put it on, then you're risking yourself being put on the side of the road even more, or again. So if you catch a flat and you put a spare on and your spare has 3-4 plugs and a nail, then there's no purpose in having a spare. So it's almost better to put the bad tire on, drive it to, in our case, Discount Tire, NTB. They're all 2 or 3 minutes away each way we go, and get those fixed, and then put that as a spare. So that way, if we have any issues, we got a good tire as a spare, good wheel as a spare, full size spare, which is always important with vehicles with a wheelbase like this. They don't come with donuts or inflator kits like a lot of the other cars come. So you got a full size spare, and you got to make sure it's serviceable to the right PSI, air pressure, and everything. So now I'm going to show her how the air ratchet works compared to the power ratchet and the regular ratchet. And she's never seen it before, because these are all tools I had when I was a tech at the dealership. And then when I stopped working, I took them all home for, home projects. So that's the front wheel. And I honestly think that these wheels look a whole lot better than the stock wheels look, by far. And you can't see it on the video, and maybe I'll put up a picture later. But they also have a little Jeep, and Jeep's always good at Easter eggs. When you look around Jeeps, you see some things that it's hard to find, and there's like a list when you get it from the dealership of the different things that you can find around the Jeep. Easter egg hunting, you might find some sandals, a compass. The last Jeep she had a lizard somewhere on there, and there's always a few things to find. So these actually have the Jeeps, the old school, I think wheelie style Jeeps is what they call them, actually embedded on the wheel itself. So that's a pretty cool look on them. And that seems to be what the new 2023s all have too. So I think these wheels really set it off because of the two-tone look of them, compared to the flat black spare tire kind of look that the stock ones had. So once again, she's getting them hand tight, guiding them on by hand. And now she's going to work on the first time ever using the air ratchet. So I told her it's air, so it's really torquey. You can set the dial on it just like the regular ratchet for left and tight, or on or off, depending on who taught you. She's also going to go in a star pattern, but these things are really torquey, and she almost hurt her wrist with it when she first used it. So we'll see how it looks when she used the air ratchet for the first time. You can't see it, but she's got a big smile on her face. I got a big smile on my face. And then now she sees the time it saves using something air powered versus wrist powered versus battery powered versus air powered. Now you see she sees all the different comparisons of the different tools we have. And I'm not going to show it on this video, but as I'm showing her the different stages of tool usage, on the other side we go straight to a impact wrench. So I get my big industrial snap-on impact, and now we're just taking stuff on and off like an assembly line. So now she understands what she can use when it's available, and how to use them when they're available. So I'm going to lower it down just so I can get some traction when I go to tighten them before I let her go on a test drive and torque them. So and I'll stop after I get this side done and show a comparison of the, I don't know if you would call them aftermarket, because stock Jeeps come with those same wheels, but they're somewhat aftermarket to us because those aren't the wheels that they came with, and we got them third party. So the difference between these wheels and the wheels that came with the Jeep, this side versus the other side, and then you can see the difference for yourself and see which ones you think look better. I know which ones she thinks look better because she loves these compared to the other ones that we had on. So once again, set it and forget it with the jack. I press down, and it's starting to lower the vehicle on its own. And once it gets to a certain point, I move it, push it over to the other side. Of course, it's powered by the cigarette lighter, like I said. Anytime you have power in your vehicle,